Hello ladies and gentlemen, Xcentora here and welcome back to another YouTube video. Now in today's video we're going to be looking unfortunately at some of the worst aircraft in infinite flight, okay? Now the first aircraft we got is, I believe this is a C-17. Now this thing doesn't even have a cockpit view, so it's literally not been changed since like 2011, so this is literally the cockpit you have. So this is a very nasty aircraft in comparison to all of the ones in infinite flight. Now just worth noting also, if you're new here, please feel free to like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated, and any support given I'm very happy for. Okay, so yeah, the C-17 Globemaster, it's a US Air Force aircraft. It's been in infinite flight and unchanged since its initial editions back in like 2012 or something, whenever it first came to infinite flight. It's now classed as a legacy aircraft. Now it's got literally nothing really on the interior. It's got the little box thing at the back, so it's got, looks like the cargo ramp at the back is, you know, meant to come down, but obviously it's not got the capabilities for that. And I can't really see this aircraft being reworked anytime soon. However, it would suit quite nicely with the current F-18 rework we've got coming in infinite flight in the upcoming update. Okay, so like I said, the cockpit fully unchanged, and this is probably the worst cockpit in infinite flight. You know, everything's always going to be at the bottom. There's always something at the bottom, and I think the C-17 is a very big contender for that. So even looking at the engines on this aircraft, it's not really that good, and it doesn't really cut it. Okay, and I'd imagine the sounds on it are not very good at all. So we're going to bring down the flaps as well here and just see how quickly they come down. Whether they're instant. No, so the flaps do actually appear to come down slowly with an animation. So that's like something going for it, I guess. Like it look like the spoilers as well. Do they work? Not very well. Very hardly. So we suppose there's that going for it. You know, it sort of works. And like with the lights, I'd imagine the lights work as well, sort of. I don't actually see the strobes or anything flashing. This aircraft does not have working lights by the looks of it. We'll go to night time. The lights don't even work on this aircraft, so that's how low down this aircraft is on our list, okay? So now we're going to move on to the next aircraft on the list. And this one is here somewhere, if I can locate it. It's the P-38. Now, again, released or updated last in 2012, 10 years ago, July 2012. This is 10 years old, unchanged in 10 years, this aircraft. So we will finally be able to see how much it has changed infinite flight as their levels, because of course many of you know how good the infinite flight aircraft are, which are much older, newer I mean, sorry. So like of course with the upcoming F-18 rework, you'll know how much better it is in comparison to these other aircraft. We also originally got a 777 update, the A350, you know, the 737 cockpits, all of these updates, the A220 of course being the most recent, I think. So we've got that of course also going for infinite flight there, and you know how much better these cockpits are. Now I'm not too sure if the P12 itself has any new cockpits or anything. The P12 sounds like it should be a bust, to be honest. It does, really. That's not infinite flight's fault though, it's actually called the P12. So yeah. I'm just going to come back to you all though when we finally load in, because I've got to download this aircraft. I've never really looked at it other than in clips before. Okay, so we have now finally loaded in, and we are at night time, so I'll just pop it back today so you guys can get a video. Back at the same airport, and this one actually has a cockpit as such, okay? So you can see here, we've got the little steering wheel thing. Now of course World War II aircraft I believe, or maybe post World War II looking at this thing. Yeah, it's just, all in all, this aircraft doesn't really cut it. Now we're going to see if this one actually has lights at work compared to the last aircraft, and it doesn't look like it does. So we're going to quickly go back to nighttime or sunrise, where you will be able to see it. No, there are no lights active on this aircraft. To be fair, for an old aircraft like this, I don't actually know if it will have these lights on it. That might be me just being a little bit silly there. So the P12, of course, it's looks like it's a bomber aircraft. And I'm not too sure how well it flies, to be fair, but looking at this cockpit, you know, it's really blurry. At least there is some sort of a cockpit compared to the C-17 we just had a quick nose at. But let's take this thing out for a quick flight, shall we, and just see what it's like on landing. So we'll just pop into short final, and it does not look easy to handle at all. Oh my gosh, there's no autopilot either, so I'll try and fly this menu. But I mean, it looks like a cool aircraft. I'll give it that. It's a cool looking aircraft. The gear comes up much quicker than you'd expect, but the flaps seem to work. So all in all, it is quite a cool aircraft. Like in general, we've just crashed, so we'll just leave at takeoff, and we'll just sit here for a little bit while I show you more bits of the aircraft. So of course, all in all, it's a cool and a unique aircraft, but for infinite flight standards of the current modern day aircraft we're getting, it doesn't really cut it. Like we've got them spinning propellers, and it looks like they do change actually with the speed you're running the propellers at and the throttle. So I suppose that is a good addition to the P12. It still sounds like a bus if you ask me. And we do have the mixtures, but I don't know whether they'll have much effect on such an old aircraft. But you know how quickly the propellers slow down to zero as well doesn't seem realistic for me, but yet again I wouldn't know. Now looking at them there, the little Japanese old flags from the Japanese Empire, I think that might be right, I might be wrong. It looks like it might be a World War II aeroplane actually as well, now when I think about it. But all in all, this aircraft, not as bad as the C-17, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. Like, just look at the cockpit, a bit of a mess. The propellers and that have always been good in infant flight. All the prop jet planes have always been quite good with regards to the propellers. And the exterior livery, it's not that bad, to be fair, for one of the worst aircrafts in infant flight. It is not that bad. So now we're going to go to the DCs and the MDs. Okay, now I think the DCs are slightly worse. I remember when they came out in 2017, so I do remember that. Let's go to British Airways, shall we show it some love? Now I do remember when this update came out, and it was a relatively big update. I wasn't aware it was coming, and it sort of got me by surprise. And I find these aircraft, again, they've got a decent looking cockpit. Okay, so they've got a decent looking cockpit, and they've got decent looking enough engines, but for me, they don't know. It's just something about them I don't quite get along with, and I think that might be just a bit of bias. But to be honest, now when I look at it, the livery on the outside is actually pretty good. So I think that is a bit harsh. Me actually putting these aircraft in here. I feel like if they had a live cockpit, of course, it'd be much better. And they can also have. Do they have an interior? I wouldn't expect so. Yeah, so we got the cargo bay, but not really the passenger interior or working doors. And when we compare it to most of the modern day aircraft, I feel like these aircraft are just a little bit forgotten nowadays, and people don't really do much with them. I feel like the A340 and the A380, 747, I feel like these aircraft get a lot of hate in general in infant flight, so I don't really want to include them in this video. I want this to be sort of spotting out the unique aircraft as well, which is why I've chosen the DC-10s. For this bit of the video, so I think you can all understand why I've decided to go with this aircraft. We'll have a quick look at the other aircraft, the MDs, and see how much better they are in comparison, and then we'll have a look at the last aircraft on this list, which most of you should be able to guess. I honestly, very rarely have I seen people flying this aircraft. I think I'm like the only person I've ever known to fly the next aircraft on the list in infinite flight. So once this aircraft downloads and loads, I'll get back to you, but I'll just click with. Oh, it's loading in right now. Actually, by the looks, is it? Is it not? I'll cut back to once I'm loaded in. Okay, so we finally loaded in the other aircraft which came in the update, and again, it looks very similar to the other one. It's got a wide range of views, which is something I'm quite fond of. So one of the things I do like about these aircraft is I feel like the wing views are actually just a bit nicer than some of the other wing views, to be fair. Like, I know this video is giving them a bit of hate, and I feel like some of you might feel like I'm a bit harsh putting this in this list. Like, the engines are generally looking quite good, but I feel like this aircraft could be quite a bit better with a simple either cockpit rework or just, you know, a live cockpit input alongside with an interior cabin, of course, which I don't think this one has either. They just got the cargo hold. So again, very similar to the last aircraft we had a quick look at on the list, but let's skip to the final aircraft on my list of the actual worst aircrafts in infinite flight, We're not going for the F-18 or the F-22. We're going to give them a bit of slack, but we're going to the Spitfire, okay? This aircraft, pretty much everyone knows the Spitfire. Famous for the World War II, for the Battle of Britain, and all of that stuff that it did. But I feel like infant flight doesn't quite give it the glory I think it should have. So we're going to have a quick go in free mode. So the exterior of itself, the exterior paint jobs, even when you zoom in, they are really good. But my issue is this. Like, this cockpit is not a cockpit. Like, that's your little throttle thing, your like joystick. It's just, it doesn't quite cut it for me, unfortunately. Even if I just auto start it quickly, even the propeller, of course, at the front just doesn't quite cut it for me. It's not too hard of an aircraft to land and fly, but I feel like if we are to get an aircraft carrier or something in the upcoming update, this aircraft will be loved a bit more. But I feel like the community have sort of forgot about it as well, which is why personally I think it's not that good, because if the community aren't flying it that much, it's not really that popular in comparison to the other aircraft. Like the flaps look cool and all of that, so the transitions look all right on it. Can we even attach a tug? We need parking brakes on, and my engine is off, isn't it? I'm going to just have a look now and see what it's like if I can attach a tug, but I've just auto started again. Attach the tug. So the tug should go at the back. Ah, so we do have like a tiny tug, which looks like it's been well designed to bring back these aircraft. And if we do pull, does it pull? So it does pull us back, but there is no like person in there like you would expect, which I suppose is fair enough. So if you ask me, this is probably one of the worst aircraft in infant flight. I still think the C-17 is the worst aircraft. But let me know down below what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about this aircraft. Of course, mostly infant flight aircraft are getting much better and the standard of aircraft is improving. I wanted to give the Airbuses and the Boeings a little bit of a break this video, because I feel like they get a lot of slack from me quite often. So that's what it is. So if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Good night.
Find your way into this wonderland, cross the